What's going on YouTube? Three Sons RC coming back at you with another bench video. Now this one's going to be a massive one, so hope you got the time. And if you're watching this video, you do have the time and you're wanting to know how to do this. This is going to be an adventure, so sit down, grab some coffee. We're going to have a good time here with Three Sons RC. Now what we're going to be doing today, and probably in follow-up videos to just compile them all into one, is we're going to be putting together a fully beefcaked out M2C Racing Arrma, whatever 6S you're trying to put together. It's all going to be pretty much the same following these steps. So we're going to go from start to finish. I've done all these steps separately with all my rigs. This is my first custom build, so I figured I'd take you guys with me. We're going to be putting it together from start to finish. There might be some mistakes here and there. There might be some input where you're like, hey, you should have done this first, but hey, we're going to get there. I'm going to give you the feedback. I have some best tips and tricks that I'm going to share with you all along the way. And there might be some feedback y'all share down in the comments, you know, where I could have done something a little better, and that's fine. But hopefully this will be a resource for y'all who have never done this before or just kind of wanting a recap. Now, obviously we're going all M2C. We're fully beefcaking this thing out. Props to Mitch Looper out at M2C and the racing team out there, just putting together just rock solid parts. I recently visited there and just amazed at the technology that goes into these parts and how durable they all are, and how passionate Mitch is and the team is about just doing things right, not just throwing metal at things just for metal's sake, but just building rock solid parts and just making our rig just really as close to bomb proof as possible, right? So I got the full spread here. We're going to be going through everything, but you can see that we obviously got that. We're just going to be a short wheelbase, right? So we got the Outcast chassis we're starting with. It's going to be all M2C. Right, we're gonna have some RPM products that are gonna be going in, and some HR products for the bulkheads. That's about it. It's gonna be, and then of course the stock products that I got from Jenny's RC. So check them out. They're awesome. Great resource there too. So we got the chassis braces, we got the tower supports, we have the skid plates, the shock standoffs, we got the ZRS emulsion caps, hinge pin kits, shock towers, pillow ball retainers, and the electronics. Everything here is going to be a stock, you know, for electronics, right? We got the bolt, we got the diff cases here with the diffs already pre-diffed out or pre-oiled out for you, and basically a couple bags of parts here that are going in. But this is going to be a how-to video of how to put this all together. I hope you guys enjoy this. We're going to do this in pieces, and just like, comment, subscribe over Three Sons RC. Check us out. We just like to help support the community, and sometimes we just learn as we go through this process. And hopefully you guys will enjoy this. Like, comment, subscribe. Appreciate y'all. Let's watch this thing and let's do it together, baby.
Right, hope y'all don't mind, but we're going to be doing this thing on the mobile. I just rigged up this mobile workstation here because honestly it is too hot to be working in my garage on my normal bench, so we're just gonna be putting this together in my living room, so you're gonna be hanging out with me, so hope you don't mind, right? So I just got a yoga mat here on like a Costco lid here for this crate, and that's how I'm gonna be doing it. That way I can slide under the bed, not leave all this out overnight, because gotta keep the wifey happy, right? Can't be tearing up the place with all these parts, right? So I got the parts out. Strategy here is I'm gonna work from the inside out. So we're gonna start with the center diff, the engine mount, the braces for the chassis, not getting those tight or anything like that, not using Loctite until later, right? Then bulkheads, front and rear diff cases, and we're not going to be putting in the guards and all that kind of stuff till afterwards, the chassis guards. And then we're going to work on the arms and build those all out and kind of work our way from the center to the outside. That's kind of our strategy. Now, a couple things you want to do when you set up for a build like this is obviously have your parts that you're starting with in the beginning here. So I'm going to eliminate some of these parts and move them off to the side and kind of work from the inside out with what's necessary. So I don't need to clutter all of my workstation up with all that I have right now, right? A couple different things though too is you want to make sure to have a full screw set on tap from Jenny's RC. So I kind of got these all divided up into the different sections. So these are 3 different types of screws, all from smallest to largest, all the way going down. I have an instruction manual for reference just in case I kind of get stuck on something. And a couple things that I'm going to be doing is I got my Talion, my son's Talion right here, and basically as I go along, I'm going to be pulling out the screw, like just for reference, out of the Talion, just to kind of match it up with what I have here. There's a lot of different ways you can do it. I'm sure y'all maybe memorized that. Maybe some of y'all memorized the length of the screws. I haven't. So just to make sure I put the right screws in the right places, I got my son's mostly stock, soon to be beefcaked out Talion. So I'll just pull out a screw for reference, match it up here, and then put it in. Because you don't want to put the wrong length screws in the wrong place, especially in the diff cases or in the bottom of the chassis, because you'll strip the plastics out and you'll really mess things up. So you want to either, you know, reference the instructions manual and have a tool that I'm going to flash a picture up on the screen right now to measure those types of parts, and that works great if you want to do it that way, and then just use the instruction manual, or you can just grab a screw out occasionally out of there if you're stuck and match it up. So hopefully that helps, but you want to start from the inside out, so we're going to eliminate some of these parts, move them up to the side, and we're going to get started.
The V4 motor mount is mounted to the chassis. You can see the lip to retain this top piece is to the outer side, right? Or else you won't be able to slide this piece on or off. See it from top. And also on the bottom here, we use the shortest. See these 3 screws right here? Not Loctited yet, we'll Loctite those later, but there's 5 screws total. They are the 4mm kind, the shorter ones. Don't use the long ones or else you'll have a heck of a time trying to get those out. All right, so now we're gonna be installing this M2C Racing Upper Hinge Pin block kit into the underside of this steering block. I got it flipped over here. It's part number 3114, and when you're installing this, what you want to make sure, and we're going to do a full video separately of this, so this is just kind of a summary. You want to make sure to see the 3114 part number on there. You want to make sure to have it facing the same direction as these Arrma letters on the bottom here, so that way it screws in from there for the pins, so it retains those front hinge pins. So we're just going to install this now, and then we're going to do the Ackerman. Guys, keep in mind with this video that I'm not going to go into every single detail of every single install. There will be separate video breakouts of these to come if they're not already on M2C's website or on Three Sons RC, so feel free to check those out. So if you ever feel like I didn't go into enough detail, ask some questions or below, or check out for those full videos where I go over the full install, how to take it out of the car. We're going to be installing this M2C Racing Steering Ackerman plate, and you can see just how much more beefier this is than the original stock one. This is made out of a softer metal also. This is a 7075 aluminum piece. See how much more beefier and how much more material is in that center part. This is going to help if you've ever had a hard hit from the side and you've noticed that your steering is not steering all the way, it's binding up. It's probably because you bent this guy. It's happened to me, it's happened to a lot of people, so that's why M2C Racing engineered this piece. And you're going to make sure when you install this, it's going to be flipped this way. Now I have this apparatus out of the car and flipped upside down, but you're going to kind of go with the curve that you can see on the original right here. And upside down that way, you just have to take off these 2 bolts and these 2 joints at the end. Okay, so this is how the steering Ackerman and the front upper hinge pin block should look when it's all installed. You're going to use the 3 supplied stock, the 3 Arrma stock bolts on that upper hinge pin block. Obviously, blue Loctite on those 2 outer screws. And we're going to also set aside for future these hinge pin retainers, and these longer bolts will be used in the front with these hinge pin retainers. Steering rack all bolted up. Now I use red Loctite, one of the few places on the truck where I like to use red Loctite on those bolts underneath. And you can see with the steering Ackerman for M2C, that arrow on the front letting you know it's supposed to point to the front of the truck. That's how you know you got the curve right. Yeah, let's go. Next, we're going to be installing this front chassis brace, super beefy, right? 7075, comes with a drill bit here to drill out the 4mm hole. Now you're going to drill out this one to the left, right here. You're going to thread this bolt up to the bottom, and then you should, once you've drilled your hole, you should be able to push this up through here and use the included locking bolt on the top to get it to stay. All right, she's all together now, the front brace, and just kind of keep in mind, you do not need to use any kind of Loctite with these locking bolts. All right, so now it's time to install the A, B, C, and D block of Mitch Looper and M2C Racing's hinge pin kits onto these bulkheads that are already prepared with the diffs. I've already put the correct fluids in there and the RPM blocks, so I'm going to kind of start piecing that together for you. I'll stop it a couple times to show you some important things, but there's going to be a separate video for how to do the hinge pin kit, so I'm not going to go into too much detail here, so you'll kind of see it mostly put together when I come back after the break. Okay, so now that I've installed the front rack, the front brace, and the motor mount, I'm going to actually move to the outside of the car. I'm going to start working on the arms. So I've already kind of assembled part of it here. So I got RPM arms on here. I got the hinge pin kits. And then I also have installed, and again, it's separate install videos for all this, but I've installed the outer drive cups, which are super strong and beefy, will last a lot longer, and the out drives right here. And I'm doing this on an HR Diff bulkhead, right? So I got the bulkhead put together, and I got the hinge pin kit to get put together. So I'm not going to go through all this because there's going to be a separate video on it, but a couple little tips is make sure you red Loctite these bolts right here. And then also, if you're using the HR block, you're going to be using blue Loctite on those black screws right there. On this side and on this side, of course. And you want to keep it so that there's a little bit of play in these screws right here. So when you move the arm up and down, this bolt should move a little bit with it and float. So that's a little tip on that. So now we're going to move forward and put the shock towers on, standoffs, and suspension. We're going to be installing this Outcast / Creighton rear tower and then the front tower. Also, these shock standoffs by M2C Racing. We've got the drill out the towers to 4mm for these bolts. You want to make sure to have a high power drill for that. And one thing I didn't mention is that I already put the droop screws down on the bottom. These are the M2C droop screws. They have moved over to a black anodized type of metal on there. And the way you put those in, you just hand thread them through the bottom. And then with your wrench in the top, you're just going to screw it counterclockwise to pull them up enough. And then obviously you'll adjust those later. Plan is now that we've got the kind of the inner structure there, we've got part of the rear arm here. We're going to finish up the rear arm and the front arms, and we're going to have the front end and the rear end totally done of the truck, and we're going to be able to bring it together with the drive shafts, and then we'll add the last part of the electronics there. That's kind of the logic and the progression there. All right, guys, a couple quick things that I want to go over that I just finished installing. Again, this is more of a reference install. I'm not going to show you every single little thing, every single little screw we can put in, but I'm going to show you the order, the progression, and the logic behind it. But a couple things I want to go over real quick. Dropped in the center diff right there. Got the front and the rear drive lines ready to go in. And one thing I want to point out before I move forward is I've used these are the Outdrives from M2C, the hardened ones, and you can just see there's zero play. Zero play in these things, and they're super tough and a harder material, so they're harder to bend and have wear. In the rear also, same thing. Just no play in there. The noise you hear is actually just the rear diff turning, but all the cups for all the drives are the M2C Racing hardened steel ones. So that's just a great piece of kit. All right, guys, so a couple more things I've installed since the last time. Got these RPM mud guards in the back, installed those. Also installed the M2C Racing Shock Standoffs, and these are great. 4mm, you got to drill out your shock tower, so that's going to take a second, you know, but just really kind of a real basher mod. You need those, right? And when you want to make sure when you're installing those, and I'm going to do a separate install video on those, but you know, this, you need to have one of these. This is an electric drill. Has way more power than something like this, which is more meant for like putting in screws or just kind of a utility drill. You don't want to try to drill out your towers with something like that, or else you hurt yourself, embarrass yourself. So make sure you use a real proper drill on there. Also, we got the ZRS bladderless shocks and pistons. This kit is just gorgeous, and what this does is it really affects the rebound of the shock. So when you go back up, because of the type of piston it slows it down, so it helps on the rebound. So when you take those big launches and you're landing, it's gonna really dampen the effect of the shocks, and you're gonna have a lot less bounce back, a lot less bounce when you land. And also when you're going high speed runs, you know, it's gonna absorb the pounding that these trucks can go. When you're going 60 miles per hour over some terrain, they'll suck it up a lot better. So that's a nice mod. Now, Richard Duperbash's video, there's no better one that I found out there. Go ahead and check his video out. I'll put a link in the description for his video. That's a great video for the install and actually a refurb on your shock. So watch that video, it's a great piece. A couple other things also. You got the Power Hobbies dual fan. I love this piece. I've taken my truck well over 100 feet off of a pole, and I've never lost a fan. I use this on my V3 Creighton over here, and that thing's still rocking and rolling, right? The reason why I really like these, the Racing ones are great, but you gotta buy one of these separately. This comes with the Power Hobbies one, so it's actually a little bit cheaper and comes with the Y connector, so I like that. So yeah, pick that up because we are running stock system on here, stock motor, so with an 18 tooth. So it's gonna be running pretty hot, so that's why you have to have those fans. Also installed the Power HD 23 kilogram. This is the basher servo right here that everybody uses, right? This is a beast of a servo. I think it got 319 kilograms of torque on there. There's really not a better one out there, pound for pound, dollar for dollar. Now, when you install this Power HD servo, we'll make sure to either one use the grommets that come with it or reuse the Arrma ones, but use these rubber gaskets or whatever these are called around the whole thing, or else you're gonna have a problem with the shock. I have this HR mount on there, servo mount, and it's a nice little piece. Locks it all in there, it's aluminum. Now, what we're gonna install next now is we're gonna install these the tower supports from M2C Racing. Now, I'm a huge fan of these. What these do, and I'll take over my V3 Creighton to show you what they do, is what they do is they disperse the shock. So when you take an upside down hit to the shock tower here, that shock is going to run down the tower support, through the tower brace, and into the chassis. It's going to zero out. And just like the hinge pins down here, when they get hit in the back here by the arms or anything like that, it zeroes out around the bulkhead to protect the bulkhead. So what it does is it causes a whole kind of skeleton, and it zeroes out the shock so you don't break anything that's more expensive. So this is a huge piece. I love these things. And so we're going to install these real quick here. I'm going to do it off camera, but I'm also going to have a separate full install video over at 3 Sons RC. So if you want to see the details, I'm not going to show them in this video, but feel free to check that out. Link in the description on that. But you can see just a simple piece here. Passenger side, driver side. You can see it's flipped upside down with the arc going this way. And these will work on the Italian, on the Creighton XB, the Creighton. Even now they work on the EXB and on the Mojave. They pretty much work on all the Arrma vehicles now because they have more holes in them now. So Mitch has made them work for all the vehicles. That you let the drill do a lot of the work. Let the bit do a lot of the work. Yeah, you're gonna be applying a good amount of pressure and it's gonna take a while, but don't get impatient. Just take your time and just work your way through it. It is 70-75. It is gonna take a while. Guys, I installed this chassis support brace. Check for the full video, Three Sons RC. But this is just a hugely important piece if you're looking to bash hard. M2C just putting out just very innovative stuff. Got the front end, rear end pretty much all done here, guys. So I'm gonna start putting the electronic supports in. And what I do here is I'm gonna put the battery tray in. Now we have 5 screws there. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 screws. And now the way that I made sure to grab the right screws is I grabbed one out the bottom of my Creighton. If I could focus over there, there we go, right? And then I just grabbed it, pulled it up here, and matched it out of my tray here of extra parts. So I'm using the right screws. You don't want to have screws that are too long because then they'll go too far up into the plastic. I'm not going to put that in now because I don't have my ESC, because normally you put it in and reroute your wires underneath there, but I don't have the ESC. So we're going to wait on that. What we're going to do in the meantime is we're going to be unloosening this screw, and also this nut right here. It'll loosen up the front end enough for me to slide in the front end. I'm going to install this RPM bumper off camera. Obviously, I'm going to do all this off camera, but just to show you the progression. And you want to make sure when you're doing all that, don't forget this puppy right here. You'll be really mad at yourself if you do all that and you don't have this guy lined up. So you want to make sure to kind of stick that in now, so when you're sliding it in, you'll be able to kind of put that right in the cup. And you want to make sure to kind of have, what I do is I tend to have this horizontally, the little pin there, and then I'll turn my drive shaft horizontally, so that way I know how to kind of match it up real quick. All right, guys, so I went ahead and installed this RPM bumper. I got the front diff and all the whole front assembly put on there. I attached the steering knuckles to the front hub, so that's all connected. Basically, like I said, I just loosened up these 3 right here, and I was able to slide that in. Also, make sure that you use this. I like this red and tacky #2 from Lucas Products.
And in the rear, I use this T-Bones bumper, and that works really nice with the M2C Racing Hinge Pin kit. It works nice and flush. Also with the RPM skid plate up in the back. You can see that that's mounted. Protect the whole bottom end there. So what we're going to be doing next now is going to be doing electronics. So one thing you want to do before you actually attach everything all up is you want to make sure that your servo's all set, it's all centered, and the way you're going to do that is you're actually going to go to your remote, whatever that is, put the steering trims to a neutral position, and connect it all on up with your battery. Without this horn connected, it'll zero out, and then with it at a 90 degrees, so keep these wheels nice and straight, right? You're going to keep those nice and straight, and then you're going to connect the horn when it's at its zeroed out position, and then you'll do the fine adjustments on the remote. So that's pretty much how that works. And now we're going to be moving on to the ESC. That's came, obviously, and I've connected that all up. I've set my punch settings. I connected the battery up to do that. You're going to get your servo into position #1, your ESC into position #2, and then I'm going to do my fans probably in position #3, these Power Hobbies fans. And next, we're going to be installing that onto the ESC plate and rerouting all the electronics. So with this ESC plate, this is a nice little kit here from Mitch from M2C Racing. Now, the way this is going to install with a BLX 185 is you're going to use just these 2 holes. I believe it's this one right here and this one right here, if I'm not mistaken. And then for like a Max 5, or I'm sorry, Max 6 would be this hole, this hole, this hole, and this hole. And that'll actually be with shorter screws through the underside. See how they're kind of tapered out? You're going to use your shorter tapered screws with the Max 6, and it's just going to drill right into the bottom of it, but I'm using Max 5, so I'm just going to use the 2 right here. And then it's going to mount to the chassis with these 4 screws right here. It's going to be, hold on, I'm just kind of spun around here, sorry. It'll be this one, this one, this one, and this one will match into these 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Blue Loctite for those, and then also for your screws that are going to go through the BLX 185 through these holes right here. Use some Blue Loctite. And then I'm going to use some M3 mounting tape right in the middle. That'll kind of add a little bit of cushion. Props to East Tactics. Check out his video, link in the description. He used a great product in there, and I'm probably going to eventually move over to something like that. That kind of creates some cushion for that, for the ESC to kind of help with some shock. But this is a great little plate from M2C Racing. You're going to see that this is actually going to install with the lettering facing forward, or actually towards the inside of the car, unlike the 8S one. The 8S one actually goes opposite with the lettering, and that's going to install right like that. And with the threads on here, it's going to be nice because it won't thread out. It won't strip. It'll be a nice piece for you. So check this piece out on M2C Racing's website. We're going to get this installed, and then before we're going to actually install it, we're going to reroute the cables underneath that. The amount of BLX 185, you're going to use these longer flathead screws from the bottom. And then if you're doing Max 6, these shorter ones you're going to use to actually go up through the bottom of the ESC plate into the Max 6. Okay, got 2 layers of double-sided tape here, and basically matched it up with the screw holes to the top.
And that creates that nice barrier and cushion. It's not a lot, but it's something. That way it kind of floats a little bit, and then the screws kind of hold it in place to protect that ESC. Now, to mount up this ESC and to route my wires properly, I gave myself enough slack. I routed them, and I actually taped them underneath just to kind of make sure that the screws don't actually hit the wires or I don't pinch them accidentally. And basically made it so that I have enough slack to kind of run it this way, underneath, and then enough to get into the receiver box. Just a little tip on that, just throw some tape on there, hold it for a second. The tape's not gonna hold, it's gonna bust free, but that's just to kind of route it underneath and hold it temporarily. All right, cool. Got the servo wires at least a ½ inch from the drive line here. Routes back this way, then under the ESC, and then the servo on the ESC wire, they both come out the other side underneath, routed through the waterproof receiver box there, and the fans, they are both routed through the middle, and right into this nice little box, tucked in, all nice and dandy.